Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a special breaking news edition of the Watchman Newscast. Israel has struck back. Earlier today, Tuesday, July 30th, Israeli fighter jets carried out major airstrikes in the Lebanese capital of Beirut, eliminating a top Hezbollah commander named Fuad Shukr. Now folks, this was important for two reasons. Number one, although Israel has eliminated several top Hezbollah commanders in Lebanon and in Syria over the past 9 months or so, Fuad Shukr was the highest ranking Hezbollah commander yet to be eliminated by Israel. That's number one. Number two, remember, he was the mastermind behind that heinous Hezbollah massacre on Saturday in Majdal Shams in northern Israel, in which 12 children between the ages of 10 and 20 were killed by a Hezbollah rocket as they played soccer on a beautiful soccer field. Sunny Saturday afternoon in the summertime in northern Israel, a Hezbollah rocket rains down, slaughters these 12 kids. And that was Fuad Shukr, folks, who ordered that. Not only that, there's much more that he's been involved in. The United States had a very considerable bounty on this man's head because he had a good amount of American blood on his hands as well. We're going to break that down. Also, what will be the Hezbollah response or non-response to Israel's response? Does Hezbollah now feel, look, this was a heavy blow today that it was dealt. Does Hezbollah now feel pressure to respond to Israel's response? Where's it all heading? We'll break it down in a minute. Before we do, hey, quick reminder, folks, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. We're bringing you current events, breaking news from the world's most strategic and volatile region, the Middle East, and we break down why it all matters to you, no matter where you live, and we do it from an unapologetically biblical perspective for such a time as this. So be sure to subscribe. And hey, not coming to you from my home, by the way. I'm on the road. Just as I was getting on a plane today, I got the news on my phone about this elimination in Beirut. Got off the plane, sped to where I'm staying for the next few days. I'm coming to you just from my phone here, down and dirty, no bells and whistles, but you're here for the content at the end of the day. So let's get into it. Okay, Fuad Shukr, folks, here is some key details from him. Just reading this from my notes right off my laptop. That's why I'm looking down, pardon me. He was a senior member of Hezbollah's Jihad Council, and he answered directly to Hezbollah leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. Folks, this was a big fish. Shades here of a Qasem Soleimani, who answered directly to the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, until he was erased from the earth in January 2020. But that kind of relationship, apparently, where he was a subordinate under direct control of Hassan Nasrallah. Not as big a fish as Soleimani, obviously, but I just drew the parallel there in that he answered directly to the big boss. In this case, Hezbollah leader Nasrallah, who ironically enough, at the end of the day, answers to Ayatollah Khamenei as well. He is the puppet master, the Ayatollah in Tehran, pulling the strings behind all of the regional terror. But let's break this down more. Okay, Fuad Shukr, also known as Al-Hajj Mohsen, was a senior military advisor to Hassan Nasrallah. Look, this gives you an idea how important he was. And here's a key here. He's got the blood, and Yoav Gallant, the Israeli defense minister, released a statement today saying how much blood this man had, Israeli blood on his hands, directed many lethal terror attacks over the years, including especially in the last 9.5 months, since Hezbollah, key point here, ladies and gentlemen, unilaterally began raining rockets, missiles, and attack drones onto northern Israel. Fuad Shukr, a point man in all of that. He's not going to be easy to replace. So he had a lot of Israeli blood on his hands and Israeli angst and distress in that some 80,000, some say 100,000 Israelis remain evacuated from the communities of northern Israel. Folks, I was there a few months ago and it's only gotten worse since then. Northern Israel is largely a ghost town right now, thanks to someone like Fuad Shukr, who's directing those daily Hezbollah barrages. Some 6,000 projectiles, rockets, missiles, attack drones launched since October 8th, the day that Hezbollah, again, key point here, unilaterally began firing at Israel one day after its brothers in Hamas conducted the October 7th massacre. Also, Fuad Shukr seems to have been involved in Hezbollah's precision-guided missile program, PGMs for short. Folks, that is what makes Hezbollah one of the reasons it's such a dangerous beast and a different beast than, say, Hamas, and I do mean beast. Those PGMs do exactly what their name says. They're able to hit a target with great accuracy, with great precision, and that's a red line for Israel. That's a reason why Israel has carried out so many airstrikes in Syria over the past several years. One of the main reasons is to take out PGM shipments, or at least the parts that could assemble PGMs, precision-guided munitions, because Syria is the main transit point for that. The Iranian regime, which supplies them, ships them through Syria, and the ultimate destination is southern Lebanon, Hezbollah's stronghold. And by the way, I think Hezbollah was a bit surprised today that Israel struck in the heart of Beirut. Remember, the southern suburbs of Beirut is the beating heart of this jihadi terror demonic movement, and that's where Israel took out Fuad Shukr today in a building there. But in terms of the U.S., I mentioned a bounty. That's the best way to describe it, right? $5 million reward, essentially, for the killing or capture of Fuad Shukr. Why? And as an American, this hits deep, right? We talk about how the Iranian regime, the Iranian axis led by Hezbollah, is a global threat, not just a threat to Israel. Well, and how they identify the U.S. as the great Satan. Remember, folks, in their ideology, Israel's only the little Satan. So why would the U.S. have this $5 million bounty? Well, Fuad Shukr was one of the point men in the 1983 Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, in which 243 brave U.S. servicemen were killed by a Hezbollah suicide bomber on orders from the Iranian regime. That shouldn't surprise you, by the way. Remember, Hezbollah is a wholly owned, financed, funded, and armed subsidiary of the Iranian regime. So Fuad Shukr, his demise is also for the United States, and will the Biden administration thank Israel for it? I doubt it. Quite the opposite. More on that in a minute. But Fuad Shukr had a good amount of American blood on his hands as well. Other than 9/11, I believe that Marine barracks bombing may very well have been the most lethal terror attack in U.S. history, again, besides 9/11. So this was a nasty, nasty actor, no doubt, and it weakens Hezbollah. And the question is, okay, does Hezbollah respond here? Let's draw a parallel, and I want to talk about the world reaction and the U.S. reaction to this as well. But folks, let's draw a parallel to, before I do that, question, was this enough? Because some people have commented and said, that's it? Israel promised a harsh response. Many people thought Israel might invade here, but they're saying this is one and done. Unless it's a ruse by Israel, they're saying, look, this hit today, one and done. Unless Hezbollah responds, things escalate. But what do you guys think? Just leave a comment there. Do you think this was enough? Or should Israel have gone further? I have my own thoughts, which I'll share in a minute. I think a big part of this is the Biden administration is tying Israel's hands. Once again, which brings me to April 13th, and we'll draw a quick parallel there. The last time something like this, where something massive like this happened, and it demanded a swift and harsh Israeli response. April 13th, unprecedented. For the first time ever from Iranian soil, the Iranian regime launches over 300 rockets, drones, and missiles at Israel. Thankfully, over 99% of them were intercepted, of course. But Israel had to respond, right? It took about 5 days, but Israel did respond, and it was a one and done. They struck a facility in Natanz, which is also home to a nuclear facility, and Israel sending a message to Iran, we can hit you wherever and whenever we want. Why wasn't the Israeli response more serious? And why wasn't the Israeli response in this case more serious? Overwhelming global pressure led by the Biden administration. Folks, there's no way around it. The Biden administration has tied Israel's hands in three ways. And you might say, oh, you're getting political. No, it's a fact. In terms of going into Rafah and finishing the job in Gaza. Back in March, Kamala Harris was calling for a ceasefire then, before Israel could even finish the job, to leave Hamas alive to fight another day. They've tied Israel's hands in Gaza left and right. They've tied Israel's hands in dealing with Hezbollah for the past 9 months plus, and they tied Israel's hands in responding to that Iranian barrage on April 13th. You have it once again. Amos Hochstein, remember that name, he's the Biden administration's point man on Lebanon, he condemned today, said this was dangerous, what Israel did today. So Israel should have just stood pat and allowed 12 children to be slaughtered and not done anything about it, while some 80,000 Israelis continue to be evacuated from their homes, living out of suitcases in hotels with no clear idea when they're going home to the north, as Hezbollah remains perched on that northern border. By the way, folks, reminder, Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. You cannot have an entire region of such a tiny nation effectively shut down for close to a year. It's going to kill the economy eventually, God forbid, but it's going to have major ramifications. The residents of the north must return. To do that, Hezbollah must be dealt with, and Israel's going to wait, apparently, till another day to do that, it seems, because this was a lethal strike. We don't know, again, if Hezbollah is going to respond, but this wasn't what some expected. And perhaps it will be. Perhaps 24 hours from now, I'm coming to you, and we're in a full-scale war, but it looks like Israel doesn't want that yet. What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for Gaza to be completely settled? Good possibility. They don't want two major wars at the same time on two fronts, but two fronts are upon you right now, are upon all of us with what Hezbollah's been doing in the north. Are they waiting it out to see if Donald Trump gets in office in November? Some have mentioned that, but folks, I don't know how much longer Israel can sustain these kind of blows and not have the residents of the north return. It's going to hurt morale among the people of Israel, and it's not a good look, and it emboldens Israel's enemies. But you've got relentless pressure from the Biden administration. Yesterday, I talked about this diplomatic offensive to constrain and restrain Israel. None of the onus has been on Iran and Hezbollah. It's all about a pressure campaign on Israel. It's insane. It's a world turned upside down where good is called evil and evil is called good. Bible times, folks. That's why you're here. Last thought, the usual suspects have condemned the UN. I hate to call my own government as an American a usual suspect in this, but yes, Amos Hochstein, who I mentioned, said this was a dangerous thing. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. And Russia also condemned this. Don't be surprised, folks, as we talk about the prophetic chess pieces moving on the board and Russia aligning itself more and more with that Iran axis. A lot going on. Let's leave it there for now. More to come tomorrow, perhaps. Keep it all in prayer. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for those residents of the north to be able to return to their homes, and pray for wisdom and strength among the leaders of Israel right now. They need spines of steel and the wisdom of Solomon right now, folks, in these tumultuous times. But God is in control, and when it comes to Israel, he neither slumbers nor sleeps. So be encouraged. Until tomorrow, thanks for joining us. God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.